5 days after the evacuation of the citizens within the domain had ended, they sighted the silhouette of the undead from atop the watchtowers of E-Naüru. The morning 3 days after that, a man stood on the top of a watchtower. He appears to be over 40, had a tan body, and his scent was more akin to that of waves crashing upon a skerry than that of a warrior's. From the smell alone you could tell that he was a man whose life depended on the sea. Though the top of his head was completely bald, the sides and back of his head still had remnants from the lusciousness of his youth. He would try his best to comb them upwards to cover up the wasteland that is the top of his head. Though his physical appearance screamed fisherman, his garment was that of a first-class noble's, thus, one could easily distinguish his status. Whoa, they're everywhere. His tone did not match his appearance at all and was generally undignified, but this man was the ruler of these lands. Undead. Within his line of sight was a large group of zombies which numbered approximately 20 times more than E-Naüru's defense force. The undead army had halted their march to wait for stragglers to catch up, but it appeared that the influx of zombies into their formations had abated, so that was probably the whole army. Given that was the situation, war was only a hair's breadth away. Even so, it's only a swarm of zombies. It's not that big of a deal. The one who had asserted that was a woman who stood next to the Earl. Her hair of pure white danced in the breeze. That said, her white hair was not a product of age, she had deliberately dyed it so. Her original hair color was the shade of gold that was a common sight throughout the kingdom. Until the year prior she had dyed her hair black. The dyed hair wasn't for a fashion statement or for fun, she was using her flashy appearance as a sort of advertisement for her adventurer group. Adventurers like her weren't all that uncommon, there were even those who would dye their hair pink in a bid to become famous. It was for that reason that she had changed her hair dye from black to white. Of the active adamantite-ranked adventurer groups there were already teams with red and blue associations, but recently black had been taken too. Within the adventuring circles, the moment you mentioned the color black most people's thoughts would naturally gravitate towards Moment of Darkness. Still, since not many people had seen Moment's true appearance, she had considered whether keeping her black hair would have a positive impact on their publicity or not. She gave up on that idea after she learned that Moment's partner had gorgeous black hair. Consequently, her team's color had also changed from black to white. As for her, Overlord, she was just glad that they had not incorporated the color into their team name yet, but had just named themselves the Four Armaments. Those are obviously not naturally spawned. Many of them look like farmers, so they can't be from the Sorcerer's Kingdom. They must have destroyed the surrounding villages and turned their corpses into zombies. How revolting. Skama spoke as though she was about to vomit. Though there were also a few amongst them that had better equipment, leather armor, chainmail, and other types of light armor, that gave one the impression that they were soldiers who were turned into zombies. The majority of them only wore regular clothing that wasn't even of notable quality. Can someone even do that? Whether it's possible to generate this number of zombies or not, I have no idea. But, since spells to create the undead exist, it should be possible, right? Oh, ha! Undead sighed from the depths of his heart. In these trying times, his voice did not have a shred of urgency. It could be infuriating to some, yet Skama's expression remained unchanged. If that's the case, could we not create an undead army of our own to hold them off? If there were dozens of those who favor necromancy out of the exotic arcana, and could use the higher tier spells of that discipline, it wouldn't be completely impossible. Too bad there's none in this city. There was a reason why she was so sure of herself. Undead had sent requests to the Mages Guild, the Temple, the Adventurers Guild and other. He had basically sent a call to every magic caster in the city to join them in mounting a defense, in hopes that he could form a unit comprised entirely of magic casters. Due to the fact that the Adventurers Guild had the most magic casters and the adventurers had plenty of experience with combat, the highest ranked adventurer group, Skama's Four Armaments, was chosen to lead this caster unit. For this reason, Skama had detailed knowledge of every single magic caster within the city. Is that so? Yes, everything's going to work out, right? For 120 years, this city has never been sieged ever since its founding as a village. We really don't have much experience with that at all. This was not something the ruler of this city should be saying right now. Still, Skama had not appeared to be angered by this. That being said, as usual, not an ounce of respect could be heard in her voice as she responded. Everything will work out. I don't think so, Earl. If we can't think up a plan about this, everyone will turn into undead. Everybody's trying their best to help us because they want to avoid that outcome. I see, why did something like this have to happen during my time? If only this did not happen for another 5 years, by then my eldest son would have probably succeeded me. Unlucky. Well, you say that but it's the same for us. Why did this have to happen when we chose to come to this city? If it happened a few months later, we would have probably moved to another, a bigger city. What? Hold up a second, alright. Let's all be sensible. Please don't abandon this city. If we really wanted to run away, now would be the best time. Take a look, there. Skama pointed towards 2 undead that were at the helm of the zombie army. They were quite easy to spot given how they were about 2 heads height higher than the zombies around them. In conjunction with the overwhelming, hair-raising pressure they gave off that accentuated their presence, their strength was made apparent. Those undead carried a flag at their sides. The Sorcerer's Kingdoms. Yup, did they all participate in the Battle of the Cat's Plains? I only sent some trusted subordinates along with our levy. Neither I nor my family participated, but it's not like they'll return anyhow. Hope they could rest in peace at the god's side. Only 2 special undead were sent by the Sorcerer King who massacred 200,000 by the Sorcerer's Kingdom. Do you believe them to be weak? I don't think so, sigh, they must be mind-bogglingly strong. Right. Aren't you angry? That they judged that they only needed 2 undead to destroy this city? Nope. Rather than that, I am only thinking of how we could be saved from all of this. As the ruler of this land, those words were quite lame, yet they were the simple truth. Though I want to send out a messenger to declare our intention to surrender, I doubt that would work at all. Can't you just escape by sea? You probably prepared for that already, right? Skama asked what was on everybody's minds during their previous meetings, but no one had said out loud. The Earl smiled with a bitter expression and did not respond immediately. Rather than hiding something, it was more likely that he was just trying to figure out what Skama truly meant by that question. Though she wasn't too acquainted with the Earl, they had quite the amount of interactions due to their lines of work. She knew from then that he was quite a quick-witted one. What was unfortunate was that though the Earl's son was a suitable replacement for him, he was not as outstanding as his father. That said, there were people who believed that his son could gain a leg up on him with enough experience. Ahem. Of course, but we can't transport everybody out of this city by boat. Even if we make multiple runs to dump people to the nearby coasts, what will we do about the food situation? Where can we escape to? And more questions just keep coming up. But if it's just the Earl and his family, they should make it out alright, right? The Earl pondered for a moment once more and replied. I guess, but that will be the last resort. Everybody please evacuate to the city. My family and I will get out of here first, or something like that would weigh heavily on my conscience. Normally when a city had been taken over, its ruling class would either be slaughtered or forced into submission. The citizens on the other hand, though their possessions might be plundered, would just be under new management. To slaughter the civilians of a city would be akin to killing the goose that laid golden eggs. Unless raising a city held benefits for the invaders, they would never do such a thing. However, the words of the Baron who had escaped the Sorcerer Kings, the Sorcerer's Kingdom's invasion to this place, and the words of the refugees from my villages, surely you have heard them already. Things aren't looking too good for us. You're saying that there should have been more refugees, right? Yes, that's right, the Earl replied. Those who had evacuated first were here already, but there were too few compared to the population count of the surrounding area. What happened to the people who were left behind or could not make it out? Did they not want to escape because they were now living under utopia? Or were they under a surveillance state in which not a single ant could escape? Or were they all taken to the Sorcerer's Kingdom? Those 3 were the only optimistic outcomes he could think of. But, upon seeing the farmer turn zombies, he got the feeling that there was no way the Sorcerer's Kingdom would treat them well. Though he lords over Irantal, it looks as though he is still a monster who could not tolerate the living. So the purpose of this war was to turn their defeated enemies into soldiers to bolster their ranks. They don't sleep, don't eat, don't tire, are fearless, and are absolutely loyal. Sigh, it makes sense why they wouldn't show mercy to their enemies, right? That makes sense, for the enemy. If they were trying to subjugate a city and force its citizens to work for them, they wouldn't be doing something like this. Perhaps they do not intend to leave any of the kingdom's residents alive. If that's the case, does it even matter where we escape to? Was he trying to empathize with her or getting her to empathize with him? Skama picked up on something. She was the strongest adventurer in this city. If she was to desert this city, what could have been a victory could turn into a defeat. That was why the Earl was trying to make her think that there was nowhere to escape to. Just as Skama was about to say something, some disturbance had occurred somewhere near them.